Hello everyone and welcome back to Media 13. Feels really weird saying that after so long. Today I decided we're going to do something a little different because I need another week or so to work on the Spider-Man 3 video and I didn't really have anything else planned for this week barring an idea. This is purely an experiment, and if people don't like it, we can just forget it ever happened. We don't have to ever come back to this thing. It'll probably be privatized within a year. If you do like it, then that's cool too. Today we are covering childhood trauma. More importantly, my childhood trauma. The movies and TV shows, I mean. Not the fact that I was scared of my mum suplexing me through a table if I stepped out of line. I've seen people discuss this sort of thing before, and it's always been a subject that I wanted to cover on this channel, but until now, I never really felt like I had the structure down for it, and in fairness, I still don't really know if I do. Before we get into it, if you do go on to enjoy this video, please leave a like to let me know that it's something you want to see more of in the future, and let me know in the comments what you think of the video. So for those of you that don't know, I am a horror fan. I don't know if that's obvious, but like most things, that obsession did have to start somewhere, and for me, that started with a little movie that I hold very close to my heart, and that movie is... Even now, I think this thing is just incredible. I remember this being one of a handful of VHS tapes that I owned for the longest time, and because of my options being this, The Prince of Egypt and The Wizard of Oz, this might actually be the movie that I've watched the most. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is a film that completely switches that usual structure of Scooby-Doo as a premise, featuring the gang solving a case that turns out to feature real monsters. Now, I wasn't really caught up on Scooby-Doo lore enough to know that this was a huge deal. I wasn't quite the Scooby-Doo ultra that I would transition into in my skinhead era. This picture still haunts me at every birthday. I'm cutting out my brother who was in a Scooby-Doo costume just to save his own humility. But I still remember being absolutely in love with this thing. I remember being terrified when these zombies first appeared. I remember actually being a little spooked at that writing on the wall. All of this is so fucking cool, and I had no idea how impactful it would actually end up being. So we're obviously going to touch on other stuff that I watched growing up, right? But I do genuinely think that this is a foundational movie in my growing up. I don't think I'd be where I am right now if not for Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, as much as it terrified me at the time. Or Cyber Chase for that matter, but I don't think that one was as pivotal, so we'll just leave it as a mention. Game was pretty fucking good though. And the music, my god, the music! I don't think I can remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I can remember the countless amounts of times that I had to rewind this VHS tape so that I could listen to the two songs on this film, to the point where I'm pretty sure that's what eventually broke my VHS player. Terror Time, The Ghost is Here. The fucking soundtrack of this movie has no right slapping half as good as it does. They're genuinely incredible, and I really wish these things were on Spotify or something so that I could have them back in my life consistently, because I'm too lazy to have to go to YouTube every time I want to listen to it. And no, I'm not signing up for YouTube Premium, I'm not doing it, can't, because my mum has a joint Spotify account with me. In all seriousness, are we in agreement that this is the best animated Scooby-Doo movie? I don't really think there's another one that has the same amount of sauce that this one does. The animation is so vibrant and fun, the music, need I say more, and the comedy is actually really fucking good.
Like, untrue, boss. We didn't eat it all. There's still a couple of gorgonzolas left. Help yourself.
You're a couple of gorgonzolas!
I think this one only becomes more special after we see what the sequel eventually became and how shit that was. This thing is so beloved by so many people, myself included obviously, and if not for a certain other duology, I think it would be unanimously agreed that this is the best Scooby-Doo project altogether. Yeah, so I don't want to make this video solely focused on Scooby-Doo as a series, but if I'm retreading my horror roots, this has to get at least a mention. I wouldn't say there's anything that overwhelmingly terrified me in these movies. I do remember being spooked by the ghoul at the start of movie 1, and embarrassingly, and I don't know if anyone else ever felt this, if you did please let me know in the comments, but I also didn't really like Scrappy-Doo that much. I have no clue exactly what it was, maybe it's the way that he gets bigger, or maybe it was just the look of him in general. I can't really explain what was going through my mind, but then again I also can't really explain a whole lot now, so there's nothing much has changed. With the second film, which is the better one, Argue with the Wall, there's really only one scene that actually scared me, and it was the scene near the end where they're trapped in the tar monster. I can't recall it exactly, and that is a running theme with this video, and it may not have even been fear, but I still remember how upset that made me, because I was genuinely afraid that these fictional characters that did not exist, that I loved, were about to die. One other thing that I do vaguely remember, and I could be completely making this up and maybe it was just a part of the movie itself, I know the scene was there, but the DVD menu for Scooby-Doo 2 was also something I didn't really like, because I'm pretty sure that it was the scene where they're going through the dark hallway and those skeleton twins are there. Yeah, that gave me the creeps as a child. I used to do this thing where I had to hit play movie almost immediately, otherwise it was fucking lights out for me. There's one more Scooby-Doo thing that I want to touch on, and I'm just going to group it in here rather than giving it its own segment, because I want to move on. And that is the PS2 game, Mystery Mayhem. I'm going to keep this one really brief. I don't remember a ton about the game, but I do remember the fact that I never ever made it past level 1, because the ghost that would lurk the hallways fucking terrified me. Seriously, it is a surprise to me that I got to this point now, given how much of a pussy I was back then. I've since watched playthroughs of it, and I genuinely don't understand why I was so afraid of it. There's not a whole lot that can really be scary, but maybe back then I was just really unstable when it comes to jump scares. I don't really know. I have obviously seen a lot of horror since then, so I built up a severe intolerance to that sort of thing, but it's very possible that younger Jordan just didn't have that. Honestly, bit of a skill issue. We're now done with Scooby-Doo, so let's finally move on to the next topic. Now, if you're someone from the UK and you're around my age, I know you know what this thing is. Come on, stop bullshitting me. Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids was a fucking great show that I had the honour of being able to say I watched before it went to shit. The animation was so clearly done on a shoestring budget, but I can't lie, Jordan at the time was not caring a single bit about that. Jordan at the time was getting in from school, slapping Nickelodeon on in the hopes that it was either Grizzly Tales, SpongeBob, or Fairly Odd Parents, and more often than not, because that was 3 of the main things showed on Nickelodeon at the time, he was getting his own way. Honestly, it hasn't helped my ego growing up. Grizzly Tales was an anthology show that set itself around the concept of this creepy old dude and his pet spider playing the film reels that each contained separated, twisted stories that showed how children who misbehaved could be, taken care of, for lack of a better term. There's some pretty good videos out there that do more retrospective deep dives on the show, and I don't want to be here for too long, so if you do want to learn more about it, I'd say definitely go and do your research, because honestly, looking back at some of the episodes, it's a wonder they let this thing air for kids. I know this one is another pretty generic pick, but like with the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, if I was retreading this stuff, I did have to touch on it because it was a pretty pivotal thing for me, both for how much I watched it and how much it genuinely scared me. Again, if you've watched this one and have any memories of it, leave it in the comments below because I'd be really interested to see if it's something that sticks out in your mind as vividly as it does for me. But yeah, let's get on to more of an irrational thing that I really should not have been touching at that age. And no, not like that.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest, I don't think I have any right having played this at the age that I did, so thanks for getting me it for Christmas, Mum. For some context, I was like every other kid my age, obsessed with the idea of owning a Nintendo Wii, circling it in the Argos catalogue every time I got my grubby little handprints on one. And one year, I actually did get one, much to my delight. I remember it being in a shiny red box, I was fucking stoked, I opened that thing, I got Mario Kart Wii, I got Nicktoons Attack of the Toybots, I think that was the name of it, and I got Iron Man 2, and then I got the Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. I don't know what aspect of this game warranted a Wii Edition specific release. Maybe it was done to appeal to a younger audience. It clearly fucking worked for making it think that way for my mum. Mother, I would like to take this time to issue a direct communication to you before I continue. I hope you realise the irreparable damage that you have done to me by getting me this game. When you ask why I'm into some of the twisted shit that I like, 9 times out of 10, it can probably be traced back to this in some way or another. This was my first exposure to any sort of out-and-out horror content, and I could not sleep after attempting it. And what's worse is what I was scared of didn't even exist. For context, recently I decided that I wanted to revisit the Resident Evil franchise. It was a dark spot in my horror landscape, it's a pretty iconic title, I tried the movies, couldn't fucking do it. So I thought, you know what, games, let's do the games. So I played through Resident Evil 2, and I'm not really good with horror games, but I like to think I did pretty well.
Where did you come from? Nathan, it keeps moving, and I can't tell if it's just the game bugging out or if it's actually alive.
That's weird, isn't it?
Nathan, I can fucking hear one. Oh my fucking god!
Resident Evil 4 was something I was so stoked and excited to revisit, because I remember when I was younger, I played it on the Wii, and I couldn't get past the 10-minute mark because I was scared of a man with a chainsaw. Until playing the remake, I was convinced that as you enter this cabin, there is a long hallway, and as you walk down that hallway, there is the sound of a chainsaw being revved up. And I remember being fucking terrified. I could not cope with this in the slightest. I distinctly remember this moment most of all because it was the moment that I put the game down, I took it out of the Wii, put it back in the box, and I hid it. I just never went back to it. So as you get to the end of the hallway, it triggers a cutscene, and then as soon as that cutscene ends, you're thrown into combat. The minute that man landed a hit on me, I was gone. I could not deal with it. So again, I took it out, put it back in the box, hid it, never touched it until last year when I played the PS5 or PS4 remake. This is a vivid memory of mine, and it's something that I would always tell friends about because it was something that I found funny to look back on and laugh about. So tell me why it doesn't even exist. Most of it does, you know, you do enter a cabin in the woods, but at no point does this man brandish a chainsaw. I am still perplexed. The remake had me convinced that they changed it. Cut that out. But yeah, let's move on to the final thing and probably the most irrational but justified thing on this list. That's right, it's the walrus from Pingu, or whatever it is, the seal, I don't know. This is another one that I've seen so many people talk about when discussing their childhood trauma in media, and it's so satisfying feeling seen like that. I see a lot of people also mentioning things like the lion from Teletubbies, and while that is definitely a disturbing thing to look at, I didn't actually experience it, so I'm not going to put it on this list because it did not personally disturb me as a child. But this fucker on the hand, I've got history with it. Not history in the sense that I remember exactly what I thought, but it's been one of those things where as I see YouTubers cover this in their own childhood trauma videos, it has unlocked memories. It's unlocked the feeling of seeing that thing for the first time and just knowing that I would never be the same. It's like every time I saw it, more flashbacks were resurfacing. I felt like that guy in Ratatouille eating the colourful food. This thing is fucking horrifying. Look at the eyes. Look at that horrific mustache and those teeth. It is such a gormless fucking expression. I'm getting chills just thinking about this, and I'm now 24. I really don't like this thing. I'll be mature, I'll admit, I've seen creepier, but that doesn't make this any less creepy. Now, to my knowledge, this thing does only appear in one singular episode, and honestly, I think that's for the best. I don't know how you feel about this thing, but personally I know that if growing up I was tuning in to see the funny little penguin that newts, and I was seeing this thing as a series regular, I probably wouldn't sleep at night. And that is it for this video. I want to apologise again that it's not Spider-Man 3 this week, that will be next week, and I understand that this isn't like most childhood trauma videos. I wanted to do it a little differently, and like I say, this was a last minute decision. If you did enjoy this and want to see more videos in this format, then do please let me know. I'd love to do something like this maybe once a month just to spice things up and do it a little differently. Also let me know in the comments if there's any specific videos you want me to generalise films around, whether that be general childhood nostalgia, whether that be the worst movies I've seen, maybe the best jump scares, the worst jump scares, I don't really know. But that's everything from me, so please remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video because it does go a long way in helping this channel grow. We recently hit 1,400 subscribers and that is massive for me. Again, I'm still shocked that I even made it past 13. But yeah, until next time, I've been Jordan, this has been Media 13.